Hi everyone, it's Mrs. McInnes here. Welcome to lesson 3 of the simultaneous equations topic. So in this lesson we're going to be looking at the elimination method of solving our simultaneous equations. Now this method is a little bit more simple than the method we looked at in the previous lesson. So it's a little bit more popular, a little bit more commonly used. So what this method is needing us to do is first of all to line up our equations so that similar variables are above and below each other. So what we mean by that is that the x and y terms are in the same order in both equations, so that if we write them one above the other, the x's are in line with each other, the y's are in line with each other. Once we have that, we are then going to be carrying out an operation on either one or both equations that will allow us to eliminate one of the variables, okay? So we'll be kind of getting rid of one letter, solving for the letter that's left, and then we'll go back and substitute that in to find that first letter so that we have a value for both letters when we're finished. So this example in the notes has already been filled in for you. I'm going to talk you through this just now before we try some ourselves. So you can see here as well, I have scored out 3 lines in black. Those lines should not be in that example, so you can just score them out on your notes, or if you're writing these out by hand, you can just miss that wee bit out that I've scored out there. So in this example here, we have our 2 equations, y equals x minus 3 and y equals minus x plus 5. So the first thing we need to do is take each equation and make sure the x and the y terms are on the left-hand side of the equals sign. So there is a little bit of rearranging to do here, but not as much as we had to do previously. So that first example, I'm going to just jot down on the side here. So we have y equals x minus 3. I need that to say the x and the y terms equals and then whatever's left. So the x term is the one that's in the wrong place. So I'm going to go ahead and move that. So I'm going to do minus x from both sides. So on the left, I'm going to have y minus x, and on the right, I'm going to have minus 3. Now you can see from that that is that first equation there, y minus x equals minus 3. Okay, we're going to do the same with the second one. So the second one was y equals minus x plus 5. So again, I need my x and y terms to both be on the left-hand side. So the x, again, is the one that needs to move. So if that's minus x, I'm going to go ahead and add x to both sides of my equation. So that's going to say y plus x equals 5. And again, you can see that that is the second equation there, y plus x equals 5. Now you can also see here there's a number 1 and a number 2 at the side. That is just the equations being numbered. Okay, so equation 1, equation 2. That will be more useful the further on we go, where we end up working with more equations and doing more operations to have them numbered. It just means that you can see which equation you're referring to at various stages of the working. Okay. So now that our letters are both on the left-hand side and they are indeed lined up one above the other, so we've got the y's above each other and the x's above each other, we next need to decide which letter we're going to eliminate. Now, the only thing you need to think about when you're deciding which letter to choose is it has to be the same coefficient for your letters. So what I mean by that is you have to have one y and one y, or it could be 1x and 1x, or it could be 3x and 3x, 6y and 6y. The letters just both have to have the same coefficient, okay? So the same number in front of the letter. So in this example, we have a single y in both equations and a single x. So we could actually eliminate either of those letters. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the x term. So I'm going to draw a wee box around that because that is the term that I'm going to try to eliminate. So next we have to decide how are we going to eliminate those letters. What we're wanting to do here is combine these equations in some way so that the x term turns to a 0, okay? And what we're actually going to do here is we're going to add these 2 equations together, and we're going to add sort of vertically down the way. The reason why we're going to add is that we have a minus x and an x. So if we add those together, we get 0. Minus x plus x is 0, and that eliminates that letter from the equations. So if we add vertically down the way, we've got y plus y for 2y. Minus x plus x is 0. And then we've got minus 3 plus 5, which is 2. Okay, so that's your next line of working, 2y equals 2. Okay, and then obviously if 2y equals 2, then y would equal 1. We're dividing both sides by 2. So the next bit of this working is actually really similar to the working that we did in the substitution method, where we substituted the x back into the equation. So we're going to do the same thing here. Now the letter that we have is y equals 1. So I'm going to substitute y equals 1 back into equation 1. Okay, so equation 1 said y minus x equals minus 3. Well, y is a 1, so I'm going to write that as 1 minus x equals minus 3. And then I'm just going to do a wee bit more working for this over at the left here. So we've got 1 minus x equals minus 3. So we would be taking away 1 from both sides to get minus x equals minus 4. And then if minus x is minus 4, then x is equal to 4. If both of these are negative, you can change them to both positive. And that's that last line there, x equals 4. So your final solution here is x equals 4 and y equals 1. Okay, it's always a good idea if you have the time to double check your working. Now, because we used equation 1 in the substitution, I'm going to check this with equation 2. So equation 2 was y plus x equals 5. Well, y is 1, x is 4, 1 plus 4 is indeed 5. So I would know that I hadn't made any mistakes. Okay, so this is the method that we're going to be looking at in this lesson, and we're going to do a couple of examples now from scratch, and this will be the type of question that you're going to be looking at from the booklet today. So example 4 says solve using the elimination method the following pairs of simultaneous equations. So for example A, we have x plus y equals 5 and we have x minus y equals 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is label these with my 1 and 2, and I like to put them in a little circle just so that you don't get confused and think that that number is part of the equation. Okay, it's a good idea to just have that in a little circle at the side. Next, I need to see if my letters are both on the left and if they're both in the same order. And they actually are here. So we've got x plus y and we've got x minus y. So that's already lined up in the right order, so I don't need to do any rearranging. Okay. Next thing I need to do is decide which letter I'm going to eliminate. Now in this case it's really easy because we have a single x in both equations and a single y in both equations. So you could actually eliminate either letter, it wouldn't matter, you could do either one. For this example, I'm going to go ahead and do the y terms. So I'm just going to do a little box around my y terms like that. So I've got a plus y and a minus y. So I'm going to add these together. So I'm going to write underneath here what I'm actually doing. 1 plus 2, equation 1 plus equation 2. Okay, if I add them together, plus y plus the minus y gives you 0. So that's why I'm adding, okay? And it's a good idea to write down what you're doing if you're adding and subtracting. It means that anyone that's marking your work, or if I'm checking over your work, whoever it is, we can see what you've done with the two equations, and it's really easy to check. So remember, we're adding vertically down the way. So x plus x is going to give me 2x. Y plus minus y is going to give me 0. And then 5 plus 1 is going to give me 6. If 2x is equal to 6, we're dividing both sides by 2 and we'll get x equals 3. Okay, next we would substitute that value back in. So we're going to substitute x equals 3 into equation number 1. So equation number 1 was x plus y equals 5. So if x is 3, that's going to say 3 plus y equals 5. And then we're solving for y, so if it's 3 plus y, we need to take away the 3 from both sides. So we're left with y equals 2, 3 plus 2 for 5. Okay. At the very bottom, I'm just going to write my two answers just as a final answer. So x equals 3 and y equals 2. Okay, and like I said before, if you've got time, double check with equation 2 as well. So x minus y equals 1. Well, that would then be 3 minus 2, which is 1. So you would know that you've not made any mistakes. Okay. Example B, we're going to apply the same process. So first thing we're going to do is number the equations, equation 1, equation 2. Again, we're going to check if both letters are on the left, and they are indeed both on the left of the equals, and they're both above each other in the right order. So we've got the x terms and then the y terms. So there's no rearranging to do. We just need to decide now which letter to eliminate. Now, I had said that your letters have to have the same coefficient. So in this case, we cannot eliminate the x's because we've got a 4x and a 3x. So there's no way of combining those together to get a 0. The y's, we have a single y in each case, so it's going to be the y's that we eliminate. So if we draw a wee box around that. So we've got minus y and minus y. Now we need to decide how we're going to combine these equations together. Now, if we were to add these together, what we would get is minus y plus minus y, which would turn into y minus y, which is minus 2y. Okay, so that we don't want that. We want a 0. So that won't work. So we can't add these equations together. So what we can do instead is we could subtract these together. If we do minus y minus y, if we subtract them together, that will turn into minus y plus y, which is your 0. Okay, so that is what we're looking for. So in this case, we're going to subtract these two equations away from each other. So I'm just going to write underneath here what I'm doing. So equation 1, take away equation 2. And remember, you are applying this vertically down the way. So 4x minus 3x will just leave me with a single x. Minus y minus minus y, well, that's 0. And then 20 minus 17, so that's 3. Okay. Now that we have a value for x, we're going to substitute that back into equation 1. So substitute x equals 3 into equation number 1. So equation number 1 was 4x minus y equals 20. I know that x is 3, so that's going to become 4 times 3 minus y equals 20. So 4 times 3, that's 12 minus y equals 20. We're solving for y, so the 12, we don't need that there, so we'll take away 12 from both sides. So that'll become minus y equals 8. And then we need y, not minus y, so you're changing the sign across, so that becomes y equals minus 8. Okay, so your final answer, if you just write it at the very bottom, we have x equals 3 and y equals minus 8. Okay. Last thing to do, if you have the time, is double check with equation 2. So 3x minus y, well, x is 3, so 3x would be 9. 9 minus 8 for y becomes 9 plus 8, which is indeed 17. Okay, so if you have the time to double check, even just mentally, that would be the point where you would spot any mistakes, and you can go back and double check your working if you need to. So, how do we remember whether we're adding or subtracting? Well, here's a little note that will help you with remembering whether you're adding or subtracting the equations together. What you want to do is look at the letter that you're trying to eliminate. So look at the variable that you want to eliminate. And if the variables have the same sign, you're subtracting. So it's the S that will remind you of that. Same sign, subtract. Okay, now what I mean by that is the sign of the term that you're eliminating, not the sign that's in the two sums. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean by that. So for example, if we had 3x minus y and 3x plus y, okay, what I would want to do here is look at the sign of the letter that I want to eliminate. So for example, if I wanted to eliminate the y's, okay, we've got a minus and we've got a plus. So they're not the same sign. We've got one negative, one positive. So we would add to eliminate those, okay? But say, for example, I wanted to eliminate the x terms, okay, 3x and 3x. Okay, 3x and 3x, they're both a positive 3x. So they are the same sign, so we would subtract if I wanted to eliminate those. Okay, quite often people think I mean the actual signs in the sum, but that's not what I mean. I mean the signs of the letters that you're going to eliminate. Okay, so just be mindful of looking at the sign of the letter, not the signs in the two sums, the sign that goes with the letter that you're eliminating. Okay, so if it's the second letter in the sum, it is indeed the two signs in the sum, but if it is the first variable in the sum, it's just whether they're both the same thing, so if they're both positive or both negative. Okay, so it's the sign of the letter that you're eliminating. Okay, so be careful that you're looking at the right signs. So what I would like you to do for this lesson is in the booklet, it is page 9, question 2. Okay, questions should be very similar to the examples I've done here. So if you can have a go at those questions for this lesson. If you are stuck with anything, you have any questions, please jump onto the Teams page and ask for help. And I will speak to you all in the next video, the next lesson. All right, thanks everyone. Have fun. Bye.